Welcome, everyone, and congratulations to all of our nominees. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. As you know, a nomination to Broadcom Masters is a huge honor, and we are especially glad that you've taken the next step in the Broadcom Masters process by opening your application. I'm Allie Stiefel, the outgoing program manager of the Broadcom Masters, and I'm here today with our new program manager, Parsh Bavishi. So we're very excited to welcome him to the program. The program specialist, Aaron Cummins, and I, and Parsh are responsible for the Broadcom Masters program. You will receive emails from us throughout the application process. This session today is being recorded so that other students who cannot join us can also hear this information. Today, we are going to talk with some Broadcom Masters alumni who were finalists in 2016. But before we get to them, I want to give you a quick synopsis of the Broadcom Masters program itself. Broadcom Masters is a program of Society for Science in the Public, which is the organization that Parsh, Aaron, and I work for. The Society for Science in the Public is a nonprofit organization dedicated to public engagement in the scientific community. Our organization runs 3 distinguished science competitions. The first is the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair, the world's largest international pre-college science competition, and is open to high school students. The Regeneron Science Talent Search is the nation's oldest and most prestigious science and math competition for high school seniors. And last but not least, we have the Broadcom Masters competition, which is the one that you have been nominated for.
Hey everybody, my name's Parsh and I'll be taking over the Broadcom Masters program for this year. The Broadcom Math, Applied Science, Technology, and Engineering Rising Stars, or Masters, is the premier national science fair-based competition for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. In order to qualify for the Masters competition, a student must place within the top 10% in a society-affiliated science fair. 30 Broadcom Masters finalists have the opportunity to spend a week in Washington, D.C., showcasing their research projects and competing as teams in hands-on STEM activities. Throughout the application season, Aaron, Allie, and I host several live webinars to answer your questions and walk you through the application. You can find recordings of our previous webinars and a list of our upcoming webinars in the Video Resources tab in your Fluid Review account.
Without further ado, let's meet our participating alumni today. Today, we're speaking with Shreya Ramachandran and Brendan Crotty. Shreya and Brendan are here to talk to us about their experiences as Broadcom Masters finalists, to share their advice for you, the nominees, through the application process, and to answer your questions. So I'm excited today to first introduce Shreya. Shreya is from Fremont, California, and won the 2nd place technology award for her project titled The Effect of Soap Nut Gray Water on the Environment. Shreya tested the suitability of different kinds of laundry water for irrigation. Reusing laundry water could help conserve water, which is important in her home state of California. Soap nuts from the Indian soapberry are a natural detergent. Gray water from washing with them worked just as well as regular water, Shreya found. In contrast, non-organic laundry water led to high levels of boron in soils and plant tissue.
Our other 2016 finalist is Brendan Crotty. Brendan is from Muskogee, Oklahoma, and won the 1st place engineering award for his project, Comparative Study of Insulating Materials for Metalworking and Restoring Antique Equipment and Tools. His project tested different possibilities for insulating a homemade gas forge. A commercially available ceramic fiber had the best heating qualities. However, Brendan preferred a particular mix of perlite, sodium silicate, aluminum oxide, plaster, and talc. The material was a better insulator, less expensive, and safer. Hey, Brendan.
All right.
So what we're going to do now is ask both Shreya and Brendan a few questions, and then we'll open questions to the audience. So if you think of any questions, audience members, as we're interviewing Brendan and Shreya, feel free to ask your questions in the chat function, and then Parsh and I will choose some of the best ones at the end of our conversation. Great. So our first question will start with Shreya. Shreya, can you explain to us how you decided on the subject for your Broadcom Masters project?
Okay, yeah, sure.
When I first started my project 2 years ago, California was in a crippling drought, and I saw firsthand the devastating effects of the drought, including people's wells running dry and farmers losing their year's crops. And I wanted to find a way to save water, and I thought that reusing gray water or used water from the laundry could help save water. But several laundry detergents had harmful chemicals that were detrimental to soil, plants, and aquatic life. So I needed to find an alternative laundry detergent, which is why I tested soapnets.
Awesome. Brendan, how did you decide on the subject for your project?
I do blacksmith and metalwork. And
hey, Brendan, we're having a little trouble hearing you. Okay, I think we have actually just lost Brendan. And apologies for the technical difficulty. So we're going to continue to ask Shreya the next question, and then when Brendan clicks back in, we'll go back and we'll ask him those questions again. Is that okay, Shreya?
All right.
Okay, thank you.
So Shreya, let me ask you, what made you decide to apply to the Broadcom Masters competition? And then what were some of the difficulties you encountered when you were going through the application? And then how did you overcome them?
Okay, so the first time I was nominated to Broadcom, I actually didn't even know what it was, but I did a little research and I realized what an amazing opportunity I'd been given. Broadcom Masters is a prestigious national level competition, and it opens so many doors and for so many other opportunities. I applied because I was inspired by the projects that the other nominees had done, and I realized that applying would allow me to take my project one step further. I actually really enjoyed the application process. I thought that it would allow the judges to really understand the kind of project that I did, and also my personal interests. But one of the problems that I encountered was actually pacing myself while doing the application. Some of the questions took a little longer to answer than I expected, so I did end up rushing a little bit at the end. The second time I applied, I was much better at getting through that.
Yes, obviously so. That's amazing that you were able to become a finalist, and you did a continuation project as well, right? And that's just incredible. Shreya, can you tell us a little bit about the other finalists, and what do you think are qualities that elevate entrants into finalists?
Well, the other finalists are all amazing, and there is no other way to describe it. We all came from different parts of the country and from different backgrounds, but we bonded almost instantly over our love for science. We were only together for a week, but I feel like I've known them for so much longer. We still have a group chat where we all keep in touch, and the other finalists are a constant source of inspiration for me. They're also passionate about what they're doing, and it just makes you want to do more and reach greater heights. And qualities that elevate entrants to finalists. Okay, so, well, in your application, show how much you care about the subject of your project and how much your project means to you. You worked really hard on your research, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So now is the time to show it all off. Also, don't disregard the questions that ask you about your individual interests. Yes, in finals week, we were all scientists, but our extracurricular interests were wide and varied. We had blacksmiths, sinkers, tennis players. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is show the judges what makes you and your project unique.
Very good advice, what Shreya has just shared.
Shreya, as someone who's applied to the Broadcom Masters once before he became a finalist, what advice do you have to those who are repeat applicants?
Well, firstly, I'd like to offer my congratulations to anyone who got nominated to Broadcom twice. It's an honor to be nominated, and the fact that you got nominated twice shows that you're doing consistent, exceptional work. I actually personally think that being nominated twice gives you an edge because you've answered similar questions in the past, so you won't be as anxious when you start your application. I know that I planned out my application a lot better the second time around. don't give up and keep pursuing your goal, because if you keep doing what you're passionate about, you will get here.
Great, thanks, Shreya. Hey, Brendan. I think we've got you back on the call. So we're going to loop back and ask you a question. Why did you decide to apply to the Broadcom Masters? And what were some difficulties you encountered with the application, and how did you overcome them?
From my local science fair, I didn't really know what it was, and I did a little bit of research and kind of found out how big it was to be able to apply to Broadcom and get a nomination. So once I found out that it was such a big deal and sort of a prestigious competition, I really was hoping that I could possibly become a semi-finalist or finalist. And when you fill out the application, some of the difficulties might be you really have to open up and explain your work and kind of who you are in the application.
So I think we're gonna have some audio difficulties, but Shreya, we're gonna kick it back to you for our next question. What was your favorite part of finals week and why?
Oh boy, okay, that's hard. I can't really pick a favorite part of finals week. From visiting the Office of Science and Technology at the White House, conducting research at an estuary, and meeting distinguished scientists presenting our projects to the public, finals week was an amazing experience, and it's one that I'll never forget. But if I had to pick just one thing, I'd say that it would be the team challenges. I really bonded very well with my team members in that short time, and I think that doing those challenges has enabled me to become a better team member, especially in teamwork that I'm doing now. And the challenges were challenging and really exciting, and I really enjoyed it.
Awesome, thanks. Brendan, what was your favorite part of finals week and why?
Probably getting to do all of the different challenges and getting to work with all of my other teammates and all the other kids and finalists on last year's competition, and probably getting to go to the National Geographic Research Center. It's a really fun experience getting to do all of these different types of challenges where certain teammates or other finalists were good in certain areas, and you really get to really join together. And it was a really good experience to meet all these other kids that were good at different areas of math and science and technology. And you really get a good glimpse of all the other types of kids.
Awesome. Thank you, Brendan. We're back to Shreya now. How has Broadcom Masters helped you grow?
Okay. Well, just becoming a finalist has exponentially increased my confidence and really cemented my love for science. I saw how I could basically change the world through the research and innovation that Broadcom Masters were doing, even though I'm just a middle schooler. I started an organization called the Greywater Project, which basically promotes water conservation. And though I had the idea before, I never really had the courage to actually go out and do it until after I became a finalist.
That's awesome, Shreya. We're so proud of you.
Thank you.
Welcome. How has Broadcom Masters helped you grow?
It really made me realize that I could possibly science fair and that my work could really have an impact on use in daily life and sort of affect the areas and types of people that would be using what I would be designing in my science fair projects. It was just kind of on a limb that I decided to do science fair, and I never thought that some of the research and all the work I'm putting in that other people could use, and it could really help them. So I think it's really, really great. And I'm really excited and happy that Broadcom has opened up a lot of doors for me and the ability to talk to other engineers and designers and people like that. I can possibly get my work and designs out there to actually get and help people, whereas without Broadcom, I would never have the ability to do that.
Oh, that's awesome to hear that you made so many positive connections through the program. Great.
So I think this next question is important for everybody to listen to. In what ways do you think you have improved as a team member after participating in the Broadcom Masters team challenges? Shreya, we'll start with you.
Okay. I have definitely become a better team member after participating in team challenges all week. We quickly learned how to divide up the jobs, but also check back with each other to make sure that everything was going smoothly. And after the first couple of challenges, we always made sure that we had a backup plan going in case something went wrong with our original design. And working in the Broadcom Masters team challenges has made me a better team player in challenges that I've worked on after that, especially ones that need to be completed in a really short time frame. So it has helped me a lot.
Brendan, let's get to you and what you think about the team challenges.
I think the team challenges have really, really helped me as far as getting to work together with all the other kids and finalists, and you really learn to get to work with each other's strengths and weaknesses, and you really quickly figure out together. We really did work together well during finals week, and it's really helpful during a challenge to have lots of kids of different backgrounds, because when you're doing a variety of challenges, there's always going to be someone who knows something about that challenges. So it always helps you as a team if someone knows something about it, and then you can work together and use your different strengths and weaknesses as an advantage to really just do well.
Okay, great. Shreya, tell us what you have been working on since Broadcom Masters.
Okay, so as I mentioned before, I started the Gray Water Project, which is an organization that promotes the safe reuse of gray water through laundry-to-lawn systems. So I've been talking about water conservation in my local elementary schools and libraries. Right after this, actually, I've been invited to speak at the Tri-City Ecology Center, which is an environmental group in my area. And I'm also continuing my gray water research, and I'm definitely going to continue doing science fairs.
Awesome. That is so good to hear, Shreya. Brendan, what have you been working on since Broadcom Masters?
Well, the main thing I've been working on lately is for the last 2 days, I've had a film crew from Los Angeles at our house, and I'm going to be part of a large science fair documentary for kids from around the world, really showing and teaching everybody about science fair and showing how it works and that kind of thing. Really promoting it and trying to show how much work is really put into it and how much it helps kids kind of and teach what kind of skills it teaches them and that kind of thing. So I'm really excited to get to be a part of this documentary.
That is awesome. And Brendan, you're going to be competing again soon, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I will be competing at Intel ISTEF next week. In the project and work I've done for the last year since Broadcom, and it's a slightly different project from what I did at Broadcom, but still on the same kind of line of work related to my blacksmithing and metalworking.
Well, congratulations. That is awesome. We see a lot of alumni, students who were Broadcom Masters nominees or semi-finalists or finalists like Shreya and Brendan, who become finalists at the International Science Fair. So we think that's awesome, and we all look forward to seeing you there, Brendan. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm really excited to get to see all of the other Broadcom finalists from the past years.
Yes, I think that's an interesting point, is how much fun and how close the finalists get every year, not just to each other in their group of 30, but to other finalists from other classes as well. It's a great network for you all as you get older. So now we're going to take some questions from the audience. Or how can you make a great visual aid?
Shreya, we can start with you.
Okay, the visual aid was a part of the application I actually spent a lot of time on. What I did first was I crammed it with all of the charts that were on my board, and I tried to make my visual aid my board. I realized that might not have been a great idea. So don't try to cram every single bit of information onto your visual aid. Make it easy to understand and put in charts, graphs, and pictures that are key parts of your project.
Awesome. Brendan, do you have any advice about the visual aid?
One thing I found that helps me a lot, especially on visual aid within my project, as Shreya said, was a lot of pictures and graphs and charts, because it can really help someone understand your work, along with possibly props or some of the, if you are doing more of an engineering project, possibly a design or prototype that you built as part of your project. It really helps to kind of show exactly what you did.
Great, thank you guys. So the next question, we've got a couple questions here that first I want to comment on, and then we will have Shreya and Brendan give us some of their thoughts as well. I've seen a couple questions here about, well, what is finals week? We've been talking about finals week. What does that mean? So finals week is the final competition where we bring the top 30 students and one parent. It's all free and paid for by the Society for Science in the Public and Broadcom Foundation, to Washington, D.C., where the students compete in team challenge activities, and they also present their research. And if you're curious to learn more about what is finals week and a little bit more about how the application process works and the various stages, I highly recommend you watch our other webinars. And you can find the other webinars in your application. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a link called Video Resources. And there's a whole video about Broadcom Masters 101 that explains finals week in detail. So that would be a great place to get more information about that. So Brendan and Shreya both competed in the finals week in 2016 as top 30 students, and they were both award winners at the competition. So the question, guys, I'm going to ask you is about team challenges. So the finalists all work in teams to solve problems. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about what one of the challenges, maybe you each pick your favorite and tell us what the challenge was, and maybe a little bit about how your team went about solving the challenge. So Brendan, you can go first.
Probably challenge during finals week was getting to do the hydraulic crab arm at the research center on the Chesapeake Bay, where we got to build and design a crab arm out of moving parts and syringe hydraulics. And it was we all kind of worked together on the same thing rather than dividing up the work, but we all took part in certain little parts of the hydraulic arm, so it was all working together, but we just each kind of picked a part to work on and then assembled it all at the end, and it seemed to really work well. So rather than dividing up certain parts, we just divided up the overall idea, so we each got to work on the same thing, just a different part of it.
Great. Shreya, how about you? Favorite challenge, and how did your team solve it?
Okay, I also like the hydraulic arm challenge, but another thing that I enjoyed was going sailing in the Chesapeake Bay. It wasn't a challenge to say, but we were all in our groups and we went sailing in the Chesapeake Bay. I also enjoyed the Build a Brain challenge at the Georgetown University School of Medicine. We basically designed a future brain based on information that we'd been given. And we used our imagination and what we thought would be important characteristics to increase like imagination, what parts of the brain you would try to stimulate more. I'm not sure if I explained that perfectly, but I really enjoyed the challenge.
Yeah, I think that was a nice overview, Shreya, and it's interesting. The challenges are designed in all fields of STEM, and we make sure that each team has a finalist who's kind of an expert in different fields, so that everyone has a challenge that's their strength, but maybe also one that could be their weakness if that's not their subject area, and you all work together to solve them. Okay. Another question here is, this is a question about the application process. Word limits. We know that word limits that's a popular subject to come through our help email account. A lot of students want to know, how can I meet the word limits? Brendan, do you have any tips for students who are struggling with that?
Even during the application myself, I kind of a shorter size, but in the end, it really helps to be able to kind of understand what you're doing quicker without having to read through a long paper. So just remember to try to keep it quick and concise. They just really want to know about you and about your project and the work you're doing. Just try to keep it concise. It doesn't have to be super long and drawn out. Just something simple but really good at explaining who you are as a person.
Great. Thanks, Brendan. Shreya, do you have any advice also about the word limits in the application?
Yeah, like Brendan said, they don't need to be long or drawn out. what I did was I wrote out everything that I wanted to and then cut back on the parts that I didn't think I needed. And I feel like that actually worked for most of the questions. I managed to get it within the word limit by doing that.
Awesome. That's definitely some great advice.
So Ali, I have a question for you.
Sure.
What are some of the awards nominees can expect to be looking forward to at the Broadcom Finals Week?
That is a great question. At the Broadcom Finals Week, we actually give away around $100,000 in different prizes. And in fact, it's probably going to increase this year, which is very exciting. So the top level award is a $25,000 prize called the Semi-Finalists Foundation Prize for the overall top student. We also give away $20,000 to a student who either has a project or does well in a challenge relating to health. Another $10,000 prize from the Semi-Finalists Foundation for a student who does well in an electrical engineering project or challenge, and a $7,500 prize from the Lemelson Foundation. We also give away a first and a second place prize in each category of STEM. And this is a great prize because the students receive an iPad and a trip to a STEM summer camp. Shreya and Brendan, have you guys picked your summer camps? I don't mean to put you on the spot if you haven't, but I'm just genuinely curious if you've picked.
Yeah, I'm going to attend Johns Hopkins University summer camp at Loyola Marymount University, and I'm doing a biology one.
That is awesome. Good for you. Brendan, how about you? Have you picked a STEM summer camp yet?
Kansas University. I wanted to go to the Naval Academy in Annapolis, but I'm probably going to end up going to the one in Kansas.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, that's so cool. And you earned these trips through your performance at Broadcom Masters Finals Week. Every finalist also receives $500 and an all-expense-paid trip for the finalist and the parent to come to Washington, D.C. We also provide prizes for all 300 top 300 semi-finalists, and for all students who enter an application receive a prize package as well. And if you're interested in learning more about more prizes, you can actually check out our latest webinar, which is available on this YouTube account. I saw another question in here that I wanted to quickly answer, which is about math formulas. If you're having trouble in our system making sure your figures are showing up correctly, here's what I recommend. I recommend that you take advantage of your visual aid here. For your visual aid, this is your opportunity to make sure any formulas that you're referencing within your application look perfect and correct. So what you want to do is write out the formula and maybe call it Formula 1 or Formula 2, Formula A or B, however you want to label it. And then every time you reference that within the application questions, you can say, please refer to my visual aid to make sure this appears correctly. That's the gist of what I would do. Just if you're worried about your figure showing up correctly, which sometimes happens with math formulas, I would recommend that you include it in your visual aid.
Ali, I have two additional questions for you.
Oh, great.
Just about this process. Who makes up some of the judges that are looking at these projects? And when will we know when the finalists are?
Oh, that's a great question, Parsh. So the evaluators who score all of the entrant projects are scientists in all different fields of STEM and educators at the high school level or up. When you choose your project category, you're choosing the type of person who will review your entry. So if you decide that you're going to enter a chemistry project and you were on the fence because you know you're allowed to change your category between your regional science fair and your Broadcom Masters application, just keep in mind that when you pick a certain category, you're actually picking what type of scientist will review your paper. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. And then the other question was, when are the semifinalists and finalists announced? Yep. That's a great question. I'm going to answer it first with, when is the application due? That's the number one thing you should be worried about to make sure you can be considered for semifinalist or finalist level. The application is due on Wednesday, June 14th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The Semi-finalists will be announced on September 6th, and the finalists will be announced on September 20th. So stay tuned. We announce via email and on our website.
So Shreya and Brendan, do you guys recommend finishing the application early and on time?
Well, naturally, you should try to get the application started as early as possible and try to get it finished beforehand so that you have enough time to review it and make sure all the answers are exactly how you want them. As I mentioned before, the first time I was nominated for Broadcom, I did end up rushing a little bit at the end. I did submit it on time, but the second time around, I paced it much better, and I feel like my application was much better because of it. So yes.
Great. Well, I think that's great advice. You heard it here, folks. Start that application early. I will say you can get this done in a couple of hours if you find yourself forgetting about it. Don't think you've lost your chance, but we do recommend getting it done early. Then you don't have to stress about it at all at the last minute. And in case anything were to happen, like you run into a technical issue, then you have plenty of time to work with our team, me, Parsh, and Aaron, to get your issue resolved.
Just one last question to wrap this up, and then we'll be on our way. What's one last piece of advice you would give to all the viewers watching now while they are considering their application and wondering what to do next? Shreya, we can begin with you.
Okay, so make sure that your application reflects how hard you worked on your project and shows what a unique individual you are. And don't be afraid about starting and finishing your application, because I never thought that I'd be selected as a finalist, but I was. So if you work hard enough, you can be a finalist. So you shouldn't be worried about that while doing your application. Just do your best, and that should be enough.
I think that's great advice, Shreya, and we hear this from finalists every year, that they weren't sure if they would be picked as a finalist. So I totally agree. Don't let self-doubt hold you back. That's great advice. All right, Brendan, what's your advice?
As Shreya said, do your best on the application. They really just want to know what you do, what your interests are, and really who you are as a person, to get to know you. So just be sure to tell them really what your interests are and how interesting of a person you are. So anything you like to do, that kind of thing. And don't think that you don't have a chance, because you do. You got nominated, so you have a really good chance. So do your best. You really worked hard on your project. If you got a nomination, that alone shows that you did really, really good work.
That is absolutely true. Thank you, Brendan. Great advice. If you got nominated, you've already got that stamp of approval. Congratulations. We're super proud of you. Well, thank you so much, Brendan and Shreya, for joining us today, for imparting this wisdom to the nominees of the 2017 competition.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, of course.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
And one last piece of advice to everyone who's watching, just be sure to remember that our webinar will be available on our website, as well as additional information like FAQs and other webinars that you can access. We hope to see you all in our upcoming webinars and hope to see you soon.